I haven't had sleep in 4 days. Sleep is my foe, and waking hours is my rest. You could say I started pretty early in this principle, my mama being up all night for days since I was born. Granny said I probably just had been sleeping through months in her tummy. She knew it was a lie. If you ask me, they were all responsible for this. A family of religious fascists who predetermined my fate. 1970s, in a far remote conservative farmland of Bulacan that houses less than 200 residents, a baby girl had gotten in this world shrieking the loudest that had woken the neighborhood. Soaking in blood, they have prepared my coming into a ravenous ritual. The Bible, a newspaper, and a rusty old science book next to my naked dangling skin and fragile bones. The incense of a burning candle shadowed curious faces as Granny whispered her prayers in Latin. The story's been told fucking times until I decided to abandon the poor stricken boar when Mama and Granny passed. Nothing really mystic about it. The mother slowly whimpered in cancer, and the old woman dried out of life from unsanitary dehydration. I took out roughly about 10,000 pesos rolled in an emptied can of milk, buried behind the acacia tree. I have known for a long time since I crawled through a riled bamboo floor at 5 years old, making up a 12-square-meter house. Like I said, I rarely sleep. I moved into a modest studio apartment of a 4-floor building, right across the university I went to. The room is pretty straightforward with the washed-up tiled shower space next to a decade-old stained rubbish bowl. The room is plainly filled with single bed, built-in white closet, and an old TV set with its occasional malfunctioning antenna. I was surviving the first 2 years filling up my palate with rancid-proof preservatives, which in probably few years would mangle my organs one by one. In the last semester of my second year as an anxious stud in biochemistry, I was contemplating on resolving the limiting finances. The same thought has followed me in statistics class. The gravitating particle lighted in an emptied row of the room liberated the students discreetly slumbering as the slides continuously paraded the ridiculous collectivism in mean and standard deviations. This field of math details the scientific basis for one mind, a cluster of will embedded in so-called democracy. Look at how they program our supposed unique psychology. Those dots are humans following the discourse. We believe, we share, we act the same way. Interesting, right? Said an eager guy wearing thickened eyeglasses. Excuse me? In my usual unbothered face. I mean the way we could predict events by quantification. It was scholarly, unapologetic, chattering to a dismissive tone. My observance of the lecture appealed to him as fashioned interest towards the plausibility of its wide use. This is more than what I could endure as far as human interaction, so there was barely a word uttered, but an unenthusiastic, yeah. I hurried off after class, barging through the busy commuting bodies of who have just gotten off the same. There was a great sigh of relief as the steps reached through the archaic entrance towers of the building. Hey! It was him again, his features now more apparent than his shadows, not that I was trying to peek through. Although his glasses uneasily settled through his chiseled cheekbones, it bothers me that he has hidden a succulent line drawing the jaws, shoulders, and chest. He was a few inches taller, which forced me to passively arch my chin to see more. I just thought that since we have the prelim upcoming next week, we could maybe, There was hesitance in his voice, knowing the idea did come unsolicited. I was about to reject his invitation when 3 hormone-hyped privileged hostesses of the similar class came to cut off my recluse presence. "Hi, Jonah," said the girl with purple hair, her hands clinging restlessly on his left arm. Jonah, with an obvious compulsion, nervously displaced the plastic bridge sliding through the running sweat on his face. "We're hoping you could help us out with the prelim, since you seem to be the smartest guy in class." The girl still clinging onto his arms, now voluntarily splattering those heavy eyelashes to masquerade as pleading. Her other 2 friends, who appeared to have no vocal significance, mimicked their queen, as it is commanded unspoken and gestured. The rogue tightness of Lizzie's white dress, the queen herself, is a modern hex against men, against those lacking conviction, against those with nightly venial regime. He is about to fall into that trap. We are pairing up this weekend to study, though. You could come along, but I'm pretty sure you'd have something to do by then. My eyes met hers, almost bickering towards the unusual casual air. Right, Jonah? as I turned to his face, staring with amusement. "Yes, of course," he sighed with an obvious relief. And I left just as their momentary, bewildered faces reasoned out what in the world just happened. They didn't matter. He didn't matter, really. I was on to executing a plan to resolve what had been clouding my mind for days. An affable, perfect idea.